Hello and welcome to the fourth lecture on the chapter Heredity and Evolution. Now regarding heredity and evolution, we are going to focus on only heredity and not evolution part because it has been excluded out of your syllabus. So I am not going to explain that, but still I will make the video later on if possible on evolution. Okay. So now we are going to continue with the next topics, or rather the last three remaining topics in the heredity section, which are as follows. Alright. So the first topic here is sex determination. Okay. Now in sex determination, as we know, we have in total 46 chromosomes. Now this is in human beings, alright. We are not going to study in other animals. In these 46 chromosomes, the first 44 chromosomes or 22 pairs, okay, they are called as autosomes. Okay, and the last two chromosomes, okay, which is 45 and 46, okay, these chromosomes are called as allosomes. Okay, allosomes are more commonly as sex chromosomes. Now these two last, now because these are called as autosomes, they are common in males and females both. Alright, both the common hai, so we are not going to focus on them. This last pair is interesting. Okay, this is the last pair or the last two chromosomes. Now that can either be two X chromosomes or an X chromosome and a Y chromosome. Alright, now these are called as sex chromosomes simply because they will produce, or they are responsible for production of reproductive organs. Alright, and out of that the Y chromosome will produce the male reproductive organs, which is testes, and the X chromosome will produce the female reproductive organs, which is the ovaries. Alright, and also you have to remember that the Y chromosome is a dominant chromosome. So even if there is one Y present, it is going to express itself, alright, and the X is going to get suppressed, or is going to be acting as a recessive chromosome. So in a female, this is going to be the configuration, and male, this will be the configuration. Alright, so as we know, during gamete formation, these pairs are separated. So this X will be separated, this X will be separated, okay, and also in males the pairs are separated. So this is an X, this is the Y, and as we know, these are the gametes which are formed. Alright, so in females the gametes are identical, same gametes, because both are having only the X chromosome. In males the gamete can be different. Okay, so one gamete can carry the X chromosome, the other gamete can carry the Y chromosome. Now this we understand by the law of segregation. Now there can be law of independent assortment. So whichever possible whichever chromosome can combine with other one. So the first one with the first one, first with second one, second with first here, and second with second here, and so we get four possibilities, which is X and X, X and Y, X and X, and X and Y. Alright, so here it is clearly seen that the possibility of the child or the offspring being a male or a female is exactly 1:1, or you can say 50:50. Alright, so a couple having children have the equal possibilities of giving birth to a male or a female, and contrary to the popular belief, which is believed that a female is responsible for the child, it's not true. It's not true that the males are responsible. It's not true that too, because ye bhi sahi baat nahi hai. It's not that, this is not true either, I'll say, because even the males are producing two different gametes, and the gametes are selected at random. Okay, so it's a random selection. Even the males are not responsible. They cannot decide which chromosome to give or which chromosome to contribute. Okay, so even the males are not responsible because it's a random process, and the possibility or the ratio is 50:50. Okay, so this is simply how the sex determination in humans work. It is simply random. Alright, but still we can figure out this pattern. Okay, so with this we are done with the first topic. We'll move on to the second topic, which is, I'll erase this too. The second topic here is blood grouping in humans. Okay. Okay. Normally we have two alleles for a gene or a character, but in humans it's quite different. We can find three different alleles of the blood group. Now, before I go on with this blood grouping, what exactly or how do we decide a blood group of a person? Alright, so what we observe is RBCs of a person. Alright, so if you observe a person's RBCs, the RBCs have some structures on their outside which can have a specific shape or a specific chemistry, we can say. Okay. Now, if the RBC is having one special type of chemistry, it is called as the person. Or we can say, if you take a person, you take a blood sample and you see RBCs with this structure. Let's say the person is called as person with A blood group. Let's say you see RBCs with this structure, the person is called as B because they are different. And if a person does not have any antigen, any structure, now these structures are called as antigens, no antigen is seen, then the person is called to be having O blood group. If you find that the blood sample from that person or one single person has this and this structure on their RBCs, on the different RBCs or same RBCs, you can say that the person is of the blood group AB. So with this we can understand that the three alleles are IA, IB and small I, and from the alphabets you can understand that these two genes or these two alleles are dominant alleles and this is a recessive one. Okay, so दो अगर dominant है तो कैसे चलेगा? How will this happen? Which one is going to get expressed? And the answer is both are going to get expressed. So we can make a chart. There are 6 possibilities with these 3 alleles. So it can happen that any time, at any given time, only 2 alleles are going to be present in a body. So let's say IA and IA, both of them are same. I'm so sorry. Another possibility, IA is with small I. Now because this is recessive, the person is going to still have A blood group. Another is IB, what? IB or IB with small I, still the person is going to have B blood group because small I is recessive. Then the last two, which is IA and IB. Okay, and the last here is small I and small I. So if you see that the person is having blood group AB, you can be sure about their genotype. You can say that both they are having both the dominant alleles of the blood type or blood grouping. Alright. Or if the person is having O blood group, you can be sure about the genotype. But if a person is having A blood group or B blood group, they have 2 possibilities. Either they can be pure or they can be hybrid. Okay. So this can be the case. If this is the case, obviously the blood group is A. In this case, still the blood group is A. Here the blood group is B. Still here it is B. Here it is AB. And here it is blood group O. So these are the possibilities of the blood grouping system. Now what you have to observe is what happens if you cross the parents. Okay, the parents, they are having different blood groups. What is going to be happening? So we'll take one simple example, which is a parent with blood group AB. So you know the genotype for sure, and another parent which is having blood group O. So once again you can be sure about their phenotypes and their genotypes. And let's do a Mendelian Punnett square cross. So IA, let's say this is a female, or rather this is a male, and let's say this is a female. IA, IB, small I and small I. Simple combinations, IA, small I, IB, small I, IA, small I and IB, small I. So obviously you can see these 2 phenotypes and these 2 phenotypes and genotypes are same. So it's going to be a chance that 50-50% of possibility that the child can have either A blood group or B blood group. Okay. So this is the possibility. You can do it any whichever way possible. for the example, I will give you another type, which is, let's say a parent is having A blood group but is hybrid for that and has a child with person having O blood group. Okay, so this is A blood group, this is O blood group. Once again, let's say this is a female, let's say this is a male. So IA, small I, small I and small I. With the combinations you will see IA, small I, small I and small I, IA, small I, small I and small I. Okay, so what do you observe in this? You can observe that 50% of the children are having A blood group and 50% of the children are going to have O blood group. Now this is observable all throughout, see, because the ratio is 2:2, which is reduced to 1:1, or you can write it as 50:50. The question comes as, if a parent is having A blood group and the other parent is having O blood group, is it possible that the child can have B blood group? Is it possible? So obviously it is not possible. Okay, so this is one of the examples. You can also try out any combination that you want, as I said earlier, and you can have the outcomes. This here is called as post Mendelian genetics, because this is little bit different than the normal Mendelian genetics, जिसमें normally सिर्फ 2 एलील्स होता था, जिसमें से एक डोमिनेंट होता था और दूसरा रिसेसिव. यहाँ पर 2 ऐसे एलील्स है जो साथ में डोमिनेंस दिखाते हैं, साथ में एक्सप्रेस करते हैं अपना कैरेक्टर. So both these alleles are also called as co-dominant alleles, and this special feature is also called as co-dominance, and this is a very special feature in human beings. And with this we are done with the blood grouping in humans. Now please remember, you have also heard about AB positive, A positive, B positive, negative. So this positive and negative is all about another type of antigen, which is D antigen, which is present at random. So males और females में वो कैसे भी present हो सकता है, हो भी सकता है, नहीं भी हो सकता है, उसका कोई खास pattern नहीं है. So that's the reason why we are not studying that. It's not that important. But the important pattern was to study the mean, which is A, B and O. Alright. Now coming to the third, which is also called as sickle cell anemia. Now this is a disease that we will study regarding the heredity chapter, alright, heredity topic rather. Okay. Now this is not a specific topic which is given in your book, but there is a question on this and it's quite also interesting to study. Now in sickle cell anemia, what is this disease? And this is in this disease your RBCs become oddly shaped. Okay, normally your RBC should be round like a disc. Okay, now in this disease your RBCs, because they do not have a proper hemoglobin protein which gives the RBC its shape, the RBC becomes sickle shape. Okay, जो weapon होता है ना South Indian movies में ऐसा C shape का type का, that weapon is called as a sickle, and your RBC start to look like that, and because of that they can get blocked in the arteries or veins, and they can cause hemorrhage, or they can also cause punctures in your arteries, and also because their shape is such a thin shape, they cannot even carry proper amount of oxygen and the person feels suffocated. Okay, so for this, the normal gene for hemoglobin is represented by HbA and the defective gene is represented by HbS. Alright, S is for sickle cell anemia. Now having 2 alleles, we can have 3 combinations, which is HbA and HbA. As we know, we have pair of genes from parents. So let's say आपको दोनों parents से same alleles मिला है जो अच्छे है, proper है. Other combination can be HbA and HbS. Now these people are called as, now this is a normal person, this here is called as a carrier. Okay, and another last possibility, which is HbS and HbS. Now this is a fatal combination. Okay, this person is not going to survive because this person does not have a single RBC which is proper in shape and functions well. So this person will suffocate and will probably die, and generally these kids are not even born. Okay, so they cannot survive because they do not have proper RBCs at all. So these two are the normal possibilities. People can have either this combination or this combination. So why are we even studying this? Because let's say normal person, there is not a big problem, but if there is a carrier and that carrier person also marries a carrier person, so HPA, HPS, okay, marries HPA and HPS. Alright, so both the parents are having hybrid genotype, that is having one of the chromosomes with the sickle cell anemia gene. Okay, once again, simply a Mendelian Punnett square cross H. Both of these are going to get separated, so HPA and HPS. Here also HPA and HPS. This is a male, this is a female, and let's do the combination HBA, HBA, here HBA and HBS, same here HBA, HBS, and the last one here is going to be HBS and HBS. Oh, this is a problem. This combination, this is a fatal combination. Now normally हम लोग phenotype किस तरीके से बोलते हैं? 3 having or 3 alive and one which is not having a proper, which is having a proper severe disease of sickle cell anemia. So we don't even count this because these individuals do not exist, they cannot survive. So the ratio is only 3 for the phenotype, or rather 100% all are alive. Okay, phenotype के बात करें. अगर genotype का बात करें तो one is a pure person having normal genotype and 2 of them is having the sickle cell anemia gene in the chromosomes. So obviously the ratio becomes 1:2. This last one is not going to be included, so ratio for the genotype is going to be 1:2. So what we can understand from this is that if a couple, both of them are having this type of configuration or both of them are carriers, then there is a possibility that, or rather the 1 in 3 or rather 1 in 4 possibilities, 1 in 4 here you can observe possibilities, or you can say 25% possibility that the child may not be born or the child may die. Okay, so this problem can be avoided by checking their genotype in the first place. So now the technology is so advanced that we can go to a doctor, you can go to a clinic and identify your genotype. You can identify it, and if you observe that your partner is also having, or you are a carrier and your partner is also a carrier, then you want to avoid this. Okay, and by technology you can actually avoid this, and you can check your child's genotype even before the child is born. You can save the child from having this disease and you can have a healthy child. Okay, but still the possibilities of having a carrier child is still very high. But once again, if this carrier child marries with a normal person, it's not going to have any problem. So we can see this one also. If we have a carrier marrying a normal person, okay, the only thing which changes here is, or rather I'll write here, okay, so this here changes. Okay, so if a carrier marries a normal person, then only 50% of the children or half of the children in probability will have this sickle cell anemia gene, or they will be carriers, and 50% of the children are going to be normal, just as in the beginning. So if a carrier marries a normal person, it's not a problem, but if 2 carriers marry, then there is a possibility that the child may have this fatal disease, and this, which can be avoided by having this knowledge. Okay, so with this we are done with the heredity part of this chapter and covered almost all the topics which were given in the textbook. Regarding any doubts, you can mention it in the comments. Please like and share and comment. and I may also take the evolution part later on, but for now this is it, and that will be the end of the chapter. So thank you for watching. See you later.